The cornerback position, it's one of the toughest positions to play.
Wide open, a touchdown!
You have to have a short memory.
Crazy!
What's an offense going to do when you've got a shutdown corner on each side?
Number three.
Evidently 2 questions, 2 weeks.
In my opinion, defensive cornerback is the toughest position in pro football to play.
Oh, goodbye! He's got a man! Touchdown!
It's the one position that when you get beat, everybody sees that you get beat.
Both these halfbacks are real bad on flies.
And everybody that plays that position gets beat.
Finding one good cornerback is hard enough.
When I stick, this idiot is jumping.
Imagine our trouble finding 2 on the same team.
There's very few teams that have had 2 great cornerbacks.
No! Better get that together!
We looked at the individual skills needed.
Intercepted!
The game is like a movie.
You saw it. Go get it.
It unfolds for you as a corner.
How well can you anticipate?
When he makes his break to go on a dig.
What do you learn from the game?
I can read him.
And you have to remember all that.
But this is not a list of great corners. It's a list of great tandems.
We did it, baby. Now we come together, baby. Let's go now.
It's a function of 2 cornerbacks that understood how to play, and more than that, understood how to play together.
These are our top 10 cornerback tandems of all time.
You can't throw at him.
You get 2 guys like that on the same team.
Unbelievable.
It really cuts down the options for a quarterback.
The number 10 cornerback tandem of all time, Dennis Thurman and Everson Walls.
Number 10. They were wonderful. They knew when to jump routes.
Intercepted the 20. Touchdown, Dallas.
And then once the ball's in the air, those guys felt like it was their ball.
They had a lot of things that you just can't teach to players.
In the early 80s, the Cowboys were still very much America's team.
The handoff, Dorsett at the middle. Here he goes.
And though lost among the stars of Dallas, our 10th-ranked tandem of number 24 Everson Walls and number 32 Dennis Thurman will top at least one list.
They will be the most unlikely pair to be on that list.
Both of them weren't supposed to be in the league.
Everson was undrafted, and Dennis, bless his soul, 11th round draft choice. I mean, we don't have an 11th round anymore.
One of those great stories in the NFL about a guy who slipped through the cracks of the draft.
That's why, yes, it's great to go to the combine.
He may go.
But when a game starts, can you make a play?
Dennis was the older guy, and Everson and Mike Downs, a bunch of them were young guys, and they called them Thurman's Thieves.
Intercepted. Picked off by the Cowboys.
Our 10th-ranked tandem was at its best in 1981, combining for 20 interceptions.
Thurman helped all of them, really knew the ins and outs of how to play the position.
Dennis was pretty straightforward, but I thought Ev played the position with a natural fluidity.
Everson Walls snagged 11 interceptions in 81 as an all-pro rookie.
I'm out there trying every play just like anyone else, and I think my statistics are proving that, I can be as good as any professional ball player out there.
Number 24, Everson Walls, will not win every sprint, but he will beat everyone to a football in flight.
Everson Walls might have had the best ball recognition skills of any cornerback I've ever seen.
How did he catch it?
Everson Walls drove me nuts because he was never where he was supposed to be.
The common word, he's a gambler.
There are times we'd get Ev right where I wanted him. He'd jump it and Art be 10 yards open down the field.
Touchdown, Redskins!
But I would always say, you show me a player that never has been beaten, or you're going to show me a player that's never taken a chance.
He catches a couple and they catch a couple. It kind of offsets each other.
Walls reached 4 Pro Bowls in his first 5 seasons, and Dallas routinely placed among the league's interception leaders.
Neither one of those guys had great speed, but both of them were great athletes. That if the ball's in the air, they felt like it was their ball. That's just their mentality of coming into the league through the back door.
He's going to score. We got it right at him.
Sam Madison didn't make our top 10, but he did get an autograph.
I'm going to get you one. We're going to send it to you this week.
At the turn of the century, Miami featured two of the game's best corners in Patrick Surtain and Sam Madison,
Sam Madison said,
with help from a relentless pass rush.
That's a hell of a run.
They combined for 7 Pro Bowls in 7 years. The Eagles combo of Troy Vincent and Bobby Taylor also soared to success on the strength of a great pass rush.
That was demolition derby.
Our next tandem was also overshadowed by a big-name pass rush.
The number 9 cornerback tandem of all time, Albert Lewis and Kevin Ross.
The Chiefs teams of that era had tremendous secondaries.
Intercepted on the far side.
Way to go, defense.
But Derek Thomas and the Chiefs' pass rush got most of the attention.
Out of respect for the rush, they're trying to throw the quick passing game.
On a defense that led Kansas City to the NFL's best regular season record in the 90s.
I like the character of this football team.
Albert Lewis and Kevin Ross were the heart and soul of that Kansas City Chiefs defense.
Ross and Lewis, the finest cornerback duo in the business.
From 1984 to 1992, Kevin Ross and Albert Lewis manned the corners in Kansas City, proving a chief concern for opposing offenses.
If you look back at the statistics from that era,
Should be intercepted. It is.
they were a team that was almost impossible to throw on. Fewest passing yards allowed, most interceptions,
And he's going to be intercepted.
lowest quarterback rating allowed.
They were two great corners, but they had two different personalities.
When you looked across at Albert, you knew you were playing against a guy who could cover.
In terms of just watching somebody play that position with grace, Albert Lewis is at or near the top of the list.
Tall, lanky guy, great skills.
Speed like a greyhound. He could lock down on somebody and just take out their number one receiver.
Did a hell of a job. He never got off of you.
And his impact extended beyond the secondary.
This guy defined how to block a punt.
Lewis blocked 10 punts with Kansas City,
It's blocked by Albert Lewis.
resulting in 4 touchdowns.
Picked up by Kevin Ross. It's a touchdown.
I mean, they were the playmakers on that football team.
Kevin Ross was the opposite of Lewis. He was cornerback as a punch in the face. Cornerback as a sense of physical harassment.
Rock. Yeah, you got it all. The bullets and the other. You got it all. He fires a pass to the near side. It is intercepted.
Kevin was 5'7" or 8".
They said, you know what, we could take advantage of this guy. And probably about the middle of the first quarter, they realized that they underestimated Kevin Ross.
It's intercepted.
By the end of the game, you wanted to get off the field, get in the airplane, and never see him again.
Our 9th-ranked duo combined for 6 Pro Bowls, appearing together in both 1989 and 1990.
When he makes his break to go on a dig, if it's deep, I can read him.
It is intercepted and up the left sideline.
Lewis and Ross, they were the epitome of what those Chiefs defenses were.
And because they were such great athletes and because they knew your offense probably as well as your wide receivers did, you were always worried that they were going to make the big pick on you.
The number 8 cornerback tandem of all time, Skip Thomas and Willie Brown.
Not high enough. Two terrific cover, matchup cornerbacks.
Overrated Raiders from the overrated Raider quasi-dynasty.
The Raiders long ago earned a reputation for uniqueness. For number 26, Skip Thomas, it came in the form of a nickname.
Dr. Death? Dr. Death.
Dr. Death.
Oh, Dr. Death?
Yes.
Dr. Death to the 25, and Doctor has saved the day.
Everyone thought it had something to do with his being tough.
You gonna have any fights this week? Oh man, we gotta have some fights. Holy Toledo, it's a free-for-all.
It fit. It definitely fit.
I guess I did strange things. I'd be with Madden. Instead of knocking a pass down, I'd take and kick at it like I was playing soccer.
The 205-pound Dr. Death often meant lights out for opposing receivers.
He just unloaded on him.
And he picked off 16 passes in a 4-season stretch.
Nobody could get open.
He shut you down.
But was Thomas truly a great cornerback, or merely a product of the familiar Raiders propaganda machine?
Skip Thomas doesn't even register.
To me, he was average at best.
He was Dr. Death on the football field. He was death on receivers.
I thought that he was overrated.
Bob Avellini spotted James Scott behind Skip Thomas for the remaining 36 yards.
Teams in big spots felt like they didn't want to throw at Willie Brown. They could throw at Skip Thomas.
You don't know how good he could have been. I mean, Skip doesn't even know.
He probably could have had 30 or 40 interceptions, but he didn't want interceptions. He would punch the ball, and we'd say, Skip, catch it.
He wanted me to practice intercepting, and I'd always tell him, pay me.
A former college linebacker, Thomas's partner Willie Brown was more than unique. Number 24 was a trailblazer. Before becoming a Raider, Brown invented bump and run coverage in Houston and Denver.
He couldn't get off the line. So the coaches said, boy, you know, you may have something here. From that point on, everybody in the league, even coaches of other teams, try to send their players to me, teach them how to play bump and run.
Willie was a big, intimidating corner and liked to jam guys and could run with guys.
Willie Brown, as good as it gets.
Great cover guy, great hands.
Our number 8 cornerback tandem won a Super Bowl and totaled 5 All-Pro selections and 9 Pro Bowl appearances, all of them by Willie Brown. The Raiders captain also returned 3 postseason interceptions for touchdowns.
You can't throw out, those kind of routes on me because you got one chance, complete it. That's to me. He's going for a touchdown, you tried.
A 50-yard interception returned by Willie Brown.
The Super Bowl one was against Fran Tarkenton. Same thing, try to run out, and then again, you don't throw outs on me.
Intercepted by the Oakland Raiders, Willie Brown. He's going all the way. Old man Willie. Touchdown Raiders.
That's a great pick between Willie and Dr. Death because these two guys could cover.
Since this list celebrates tandems, some of the greatest cornerbacks of all time didn't make the cut.
Wow.
Roger Worley played 14 seasons with the St. Louis Cardinals, making 7 Pro Bowls.
You just don't find cornerbacks very often that have this kind of ability.
Darrell Green played 20 seasons for the Redskins and picked off 54 passes.
Whoa, there's a big play for Darrell Green.
Rod Woodson finished his 17-year career with 71 interceptions, third most in NFL history.
Nothing but sideline. Rod Woodson.
But there was only one cornerback whose singular skills earned him a spot on our list.
The number 7 quarterback tandem of all time, Deion Sanders and anyone?
Plus anybody?
There's only one Deion Sanders.
Deion Sanders, to me, is the greatest single player that ever played the game of football.
We've never seen another player with that type of skill level.
And Deion Sanders leaped and intercepted on our 39.
God, he was good. He was so good.
In a game full of remarkable athletes, Deion Sanders stood out.
In a 5-team career, our number 7 cornerback, solo artist, started opposite 13 different counterparts, almost none of whom struck fear in opposing offenses.
We just gonna have fun and play ball.
If you team Deion Sanders up with any average cornerback, you're going to get results.
McKyer intercepts on the 50. McKyer gives it to Deion.
He could make any tandem he played with the best tandem in football.
No, I don't think you can say that.
At least you want him to have a little talent.
If the other corner can't play, you're going to find it. You can't hide a corner.
Regardless of what cornerback started opposite him, this one-man tandem improved defenses.
He may score.
The Cowboys and 49ers became champions in Sanders' first season with each team.
He could more take away not only a player, but almost the side of an entire field.
You're able to put Deion on one receiver, and you design a defense around the other 10.
So it narrowed the playing field.
And he throws, passes, picked by Deion.
He would bait quarterbacks into throwing and pick it off.
Quarterbacks understood that just because a guy looked open against Deion Sanders didn't mean he was open.
He loved being thrown at because he could score.
Bam! He was smart.
Intercepted by Deion Sanders at the 25 to 30. Deion Sanders going for a long, long touchdown.
Deion was never a great tackle. Let's get that out of the way. Deion would lay more tackles than anybody on the football field.
Deion made what he called business decisions. And for Deion, a business decision was, I'm not throwing my body in there. There were a few times when he was in various uniforms that I saw him tackle.
Deion Sanders blindsided him.
Are you looking for Deion to come up and throw him in the ground? No, he did what he had to do in order to be one of the great cornerbacks.
The man known as Primetime was named an All-Pro 6 times, played in 8 Pro Bowls, and was the 1994 Defensive Player of the Year.
Another classic by Deion.
Deion Sanders deserves whatever he gets when it comes to accolades as being one of the all-time great cornerbacks.
He changed the vocabulary. No one talked about shutdown corners before Deion Sanders.
Over the middle, Jerry Rice, intercepted by Deion Sanders.
The idea that there's another shutdown corner the way Deion was is ridiculous. There's no such thing.
There never was and never will be another Deion Sanders.
Neon Deion and anybody else. I'd put it out there, yes.
He's the best.
The number 6 cornerback tandem of all time, J.T. Thomas and Mel Blount.
To mention Mel Blount and Deion Sanders in the same sentence is insulting to Mel Blount. That's the best quarterback tandem ever because Mel Blount's the best cornerback ever, and anyone who says otherwise is wrong.
JT on the other side was great. I mean, those guys personified the way the game was played.
I couldn't imagine anybody being better than Mel Blount. If he was in the vicinity, it had to be an awesome throw to get through there, or he was going to pick it off.
Oh, I just pitied those receivers. He was huge. You did got to put it in the right perspective.
Back in those days, they could put their hands on you, push you all over the field till the ball was in the air.
Mel Blount dumped him.
You could do your mugging, up and down the field, and nobody cared.
Nobody had a better name for that position because he was blunt.
You couldn't get around him. He'd beat you up. He'd throw you out of bounds. I mean, it was like running against a mountain.
One of the things that I always wanted to do was let people know that this is my territory.
I didn't like it when he was on my side. We didn't get as much action as we'd like.
Blount had Renfro beautifully covered one-on-one.
I think the ball club as a whole played well.
Why are Blount and Thomas not higher on our list? They benefited from playing with one of the best defenses ever, the Steel Curtain of the 1970s.
Let's be honest. If you threw a water balloon into the huddle of that Steelers team, you'd splatter about 6 Hall of Famers.
I made the comment at my Hall of Fame induction how fortunate I was to play in arguably the greatest defense of all time. Every one of these guys on this team played in the Pro Bowl. It's pretty impressive.
Left cornerback, number 24, J.T. Thomas.
James Thomas Jr. was the Steelers' first-round draft pick in 1973. He made the Pro Bowl in 1976 and picked off 20 passes in his career.
JT was probably underrated for his talent.
I think he was overlooked. I think he was a heck of an athlete, a heck of a defender.
To the outside, picked off by J.T. Thomas.
Oh, JT was very good. I mean, he's not one of your legendary quarterbacks, not in a class with a guy like Mel Blount.
I don't agree with this particular selection. Somebody had to be along for the ride, and it was Thomas, a good little player, but I think he was along for the ride on some of those teams.
He never became the player they thought he was going to be, which was they thought he would be the equal of Mel Blount.
Due in large part to Mel Blount's physical domination, in 1978, the NFL modified its stance on permissible contact with receivers.
Every year, the National Football League comes up with some rules changes. This year, the most important changes concern pass coverage and the interaction between receivers and defenders.
Any contact beyond 5 yards that's initiated by the defensive player is to be called illegal contact.
They changed the game because he was too good. Guys couldn't even get off the line against him.
That'll be a penalty on Mel Blount.
I'm honored that they thought enough of the way I played the game that they would change the rule and call it the Mel Blount rule.
Mel would find a way today. Would he be as effective now as then? Boy, there's almost no way of knowing that.
You could do a lot of damage in 5 yards. Mel Blount would be a Hall of Famer. I don't care where he played and when he played.
Brian Steiner knocked down by Mel Blount.
Blount finished with a Steelers record 57 interceptions. But the resume of our number 6 cornerback tandem is highlighted by wins in Super Bowls 9, 10, and 14.
Mel Blount and J.T. Thomas, the best cornerback pairing ever. Case closed.
And now, the number 5 cornerback tandem of all time, Dick LeBeau, and the Hall of Famers.
These guys can play.
Night Train Lane intercepts a Brody pass.
Intercepted by Dick LeBeau. And Barney scored unmolested.
The Lions in the 60s had one of the best secondaries probably in NFL history.
Dick LeBeau was, for years, considered one of the most solid, smart, consistent players in the game. And then on the other side, you kind of had two generations of Hall of Fame players, Night Train Lane, and then Lem Barney.
I told them both that, I put them in the Hall of Fame because everybody was so busy throwing over on my side of the field.
The Lions placed a cornerback in the Pro Bowl every year of the decade.
There aren't too many teams that have had a run like that.
Number 81, Night Train Lane. Number 44, Dick LeBeau. And number 20, Lem Barney. Each rank in the top 15 for career interceptions.
When you get those kind of interceptions, it's pretty doggone good.
I believe Night Train Lane was the best ever at cornerback.
Night Train Lane was one of these physical players.
Every bit of 6'4", 6'5",
and maybe 218.
Here's a guy that could have played in any era.
But the play is diagnosed perfectly by Night Train Lane.
He had the size, had the speed to get up and beat somebody that halfway to death.
Night Train literally went for the head.
I mean, they used to talk about the Night Train necktie.
And the quarterbacks didn't like Night Train because he was a reckless player.
He would let the receiver get free. Then once the ball was in the air, he'd go pick it.
Night Train Lane intercepts a Brody pass.
Most gamblers end up getting run out of the league, but not Night Train.
Dick LeBeau renders stability to the defensive backfield with his crunching tackles and key interceptions.
Night Train Lane and Dick LeBeau were two different types of defensive backs. Quarterback started throwing over to Dick LeBeau's side, which was just as bad.
Veteran cornerback Dick LeBeau, number 44, is so savvy that he looks as though he is running the offensive pattern.
He's still in the top 10 in the National Football League history in interceptions.
One thing about Dick LeBeau, he wasn't as big as Night Train, but he is a great student of the game. Never caught him out of position. He always knew where he was going. He's just solid as the Rock of Gibraltar.
At the other corner is Lem Barney, who might be the most versatile athlete in the game today.
And then Lem Barney came along, and physically, he was just such a great athlete.
Lem was probably the quickest guy I've ever seen. His feet were like he was gliding around.
He was more than just a Hall of Fame cornerback. He did things that were spectacular.
Lem Barney scampered 45 yards into the end zone.
The perfect example is in his very first game, the very first play, he jumps the route.
The season wasn't even 10 minutes old when number 20, rookie Lem Barney, shocked the partisan Packer backers with a 24-yard interception.
Here was a defensive player who compiled almost 4,000 yards. That's a pretty funny idea of defense.
When Starr put the ball in the air, it was like putting it on a plane bound for Miami, with either Barney or LeBeau willing to play the role of hijacker.
They had three superstar cornerbacks in the same decade.
When people talk about the great secondaries, the Lions get overlooked because they didn't win a championship. That doesn't mean they don't deserve to be there. That was one of the great defensive secondaries ever, both of them, first generation and second.
The number 4 cornerback tandem of all time, Bob Jeter and Herb Adderley.
Why you got him at number 4? I thought they were better than that.
Did you ever play against a better tandem?
Well, now.
They faced their opponents with a sword in one hand and a sledgehammer in the other.
I guess not. I guess not. They were damn good.
Kicked off beautifully by Jeter of the Green Bay Packers.
Number 21, Bob Jeter, and number 26, Herb Adderley, patrolled the secondary for the great Packers teams of the 1960s.
Beautiful save by Adderley.
This unlikely defensive pairing came together thanks to the most famous face of that era.
This is Vince Lombardi, coach of the finest football team in the world.
Herb was a great offensive running back at Michigan State. Bob Jeter was a great running back at Iowa.
What the hell's going on out here?
Bob Jeter set a Rose Bowl record, 194 yards in 9 carries. These are both great runners. They had great speed.
Bobby Jeter skirts the sidelines here to the 10 and into the end zone.
But the Packers already had future Hall of Fame ball carriers Paul Hornig and Jim Taylor.
When Vince Lombardi saw Herb Adderley He said, this guy is just too good to put him on the offensive side of the ball where he may not play, where this guy can really be a defensive star.
I could run because I was a running back, so I used to want to get my hands on the football and take off and go the other way with it.
Picked off by Herb Adderley of Green Bay. All the way for a Green Bay touchdown.
Bob Jeter and Herb Adderley have something you won't see today. They're both over 6 foot. They're both over 200 pounds, and they both would hit you.
And now the hitting begins.
As a running back, I took a heck of a beating, and I figured, well, now I got a chance to dish it out. I'm going to dish a little bit out.
Some of those ferocious tackles I saw about Herb Adderley.
And a crushing tackle.
When it comes to stealing enemy passes, here's the man they can't forget. All-Pro Herb Adderley.
For about 4 years, they would always say I was the second best corner in the league, and Herb Adderley was always the guy who was number one.
He had the unique distinction in 1965. He did not have a touchdown pass thrown on him the whole season. He won the whole season with no touchdown passes.
On January 14th, 1968, the Oakland Raiders met the Green Bay Packers in Miami's famous Orange Bowl to determine the world champion of professional football.
They had been told not to throw to the right side. Fourth quarter, he said, what the heck, I might as well take a shot. And he threw it over there, and Herb picked it and ran it back.
A 70-yard interception returned by Herb Adderley.
That was the first defensive touchdown in Super Bowl history.
Our number 4 cornerback tandem finished with a total of 5 All-Pro designations, 7 Pro Bowls, and 3 championships.
They were 2 great quarterbacks.
Football is a young man's game, and NFL history is dotted with some sensational young tandems.
Ken Riley and Lamar Parrish. Lamar Parrish was Deion Sanders before there was Deion Sanders. Ken Riley is in the top 5 all-time in career interceptions. Seriously, they were Hank Aaron and Willie Mays.
The 49ers had their own impact rookies in 1986 with Don Griffin and Tim McKyer. But those aren't the Niner rookies who made our list.
The number 3 quarterback tandem of all time, Ronnie Lott and Eric Wright.
Those two guys helped put the 49ers on the map.
Ronnie Lott, intercept.
In NFL history, by far, that was the best secondary ever to play the game.
21 and 42 are 2 numbers that Niner fans will never forget.
That's because Eric Wright and Ronnie Lott saved San Francisco from its own secondary.
Wow.
Jeez. The 49ers had just disintegrated, and that personified itself with our defensive secondary. Our defensive backs couldn't be found on the tapes.
In 1981, Bill Walsh added our number 3 cornerback tandem with back-to-back draft picks.
In 1981, they were thrown into fire pretty quickly.
When Ronnie Lott and those guys started playing, we all stood up and watched them play.
Ronnie Lott was the best defensive back I've ever seen.
Because Ronnie was so highly talented, I don't think people went after him. Eric got all the attention. But after like midway through the season,
And it is intercepted.
you couldn't throw it at Eric anymore.
These guys, they were rookies, but they had confidence through the roof.
They were 27th in defense in 1980, and they drafted those starting defensive backs. They went up to 2nd this year.
And it is intercepted, taken away by Ronnie Lott.
Our 3rd-ranked tandem capped its rookie season with a Super Bowl.
49ers have won it.
Ronnie was one of those special, unique talents.
Ronnie just intimidated people.
When we take the damn field, it's not our brotherhood that's going to do it for us.
Let's hit him like we always do.
We're a machine, and we just knock the hell out of people.
Ronnie Lott, bad man.
What a man.
That is martial arts, black belt. I'm looking to hurt people on this football field kind of intimidation.
Eric was on the other side. Eric was very athletic, very, very fast. Eric was a pure corner.
Eric Wright, to me, had this sense that as soon as I am allowed to touch you, I'm going to clobber you.
Great player, make all pro this year.
I thought Eric Wright was one of the best man-to-man cover guys to ever play the position.
They were hyper-aggressive backs
Intercepted by Wright.
that were not afraid to go for the ball and make the big play.
I think if Eric Wright and Ronnie Lott were sitting around, they would have to admit, why did the Niners offense get so much love? We were as important, if not more important,
It was Eric Wright who preserved Frisco's NFC Championship win in '81.
Yes, there was a catch, but Eric Wright made the most awesome play in the Dallas Cowboy game. History could have definitely been different.
And our number 3 duo helped deliver the Niners their second title as well.
Marino fires to the goal line, and it is intercepted. Picked on by Eric Wright.
Look at the 1984 Super Bowl against the great Dan Marino.
And the 49ers have won the Super Bowl.
It's anchored in that secondary. Wright and Lott.
What made that secondary so great
Ronnie Lott intercepts.
is because you couldn't just pick on one guy.
Picked off by Eric Wright.
I don't know where those two guys, Lott and Wright, are in your list, but I think that's probably as good as it gets.
Good cornerbacks are all about timing. In 1985, the Rams' Gary Green and Leroy Irvin both reached the Pro Bowl. A year later, Irvin won again.
Picked up by Leroy Irvin.
With a different partner, Jerry Gray. In 1971, 49er legend Jimmy Johnson reached the Pro Bowl.
Intercepted. Wow.
With Bruce Taylor in tow. But no tandem in NFL history reached more Pro Bowls together than our next dynamic duo.
The number 2 cornerback tandem of all time, Hanford Dixon and Frank Minifield.
Actually, I'd probably put him number 1, to be honest with you, because I played him so much every year, twice a year.
The Browns burn Cincinnati on the bomb on the very first play.
Two guys with a tremendous amount of impact.
When you talked about the Browns defense, you began with Minifield and Dixon. It was pick your poison.
Oh, my.
What's an offense going to do when you've got a shutdown corner on each side? Frank Minifield and Hanford Dixon were perfectly cast in their city.
Not only great corners, but tough guys. They were, in many ways, the personality of that defense.
Look at the surroundings, the fans, the noise.
This crowd can't get enough.
The weather.
We have a heat wave here at the stadium today with a wind chill factor of about 5.
Frank Minifield and Hanford Dixon fired up Cleveland's faithful fans in the mid-'80s. Then named them.
They're the ones that really started what became known as the dog pound.
It was after one game, Hanford said, I think we got a dog pound out there in the bleachers.
Right in front of the dog pound.
The dog pound, those people were fanatics. Kind of make the hair stand up on the back of your neck.
Between them and the dog pound, one of the most difficult places and teams to play against.
The pulse of the dog defense was the best set of corners in the game. All-pros Frank Minifield and Hanford Dixon.
They're obviously, as a unit, the best in the National Football League.
Firing on the right side, intercepted. Hell of a job, defense. Hell of a job.
They weren't dominant because of their athletic greatness. They were dominant because of their mental will.
The thing that enables them to be effective is their personality, their attitude.
There's no doubt about it that the Cleveland Browns possess the 2 best cover guys in the game. We are complete corners. We hit, we run, we tackle, we can do it all.
These guys were man-to-man. They dogged receivers.
They were in-your-face cornerbacks.
These 2 guys would push the contact rules to the absolute limit. And I remember, Sam Weiss just screaming at the wide receivers in practice.
No, you're not going to play that.
They're going to eat you up.
Oh, no.
They're going to take you down. And if they were playing today, they wouldn't be playing because it would be a flag on every play.
That's a hell of a job by our defense again.
Dixon tormented wide receivers at the line of scrimmage.
There's no place you could have thrown that ball.
In 1987, only 7 passes were thrown in the direction of Hanford Dixon.
From 1986 to 1988, Dixon was a regular in Honolulu. And each one of those years, Frank Minifield joined him.
Firing on the right side, intercepted.
I think there's definitely some competition going on between the 2 of us. I think that I'm a pretty good cornerback, and Frank thinks he's the best thing since Superman.
Minifield also thought in the third person.
I think that Frank Minifield has the ability to think that he is never in a situation where he's not going to win.
Hell of a job, Minnie!
You would have had to see them play every week of the season to know how good they were.
They are the only tandem in NFL history to attend 3 Pro Bowls together.
That's how good they were, and they were the center of the Browns defense.
So why are Dixon and Minifield only number 2? 2 words: the drive.
And the Broncos are 98 yards away from where they need to go.
If you don't win it all, you're a failure.
They came up short in the playoffs. Maybe their legacy isn't what it should be.
Here's the problem with the drive. Marty decided we're only going to rush 3 guys against John Elway. Even the best cornerbacks in the world
Was wide open in that soft middle.
can't cover a wide receiver forever.
Fires over the middle. Touchdown.
And that's what happened in the drive. They were 2 of the best covered cornerbacks in the history of the National Football League.
Intercepted. Frank Minifield.
Thinking about cornerback tandems, I would put them right at the top.
And now the #1 cornerback tandem of all time, Lester Hayes and Mike Haynes.
Mike and Lester Hayes, they were the guys.
I don't see any 2 corners that ever played together could match those 2.
And intercepted. Sets up, delivers one to Sweeney, intercepted Hayes, 18-yard line, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown Raiders!
Fearless cornerbacks.
Before becoming the best tandem of all time, Hayes and Haynes were great individual cornerbacks. Hayes began his career learning from Raider legend Willie Brown. It didn't take long for the man called the Judge to establish his own brand of cornerback justice.
One of the best cornerbacks at intimidating.
He surely was intimidating.
Lester Hayes, number 37, was lethal.
He was a linebacker in college, so he's a little stronger, a lot bigger than me.
Delivers a pop. Not many people can.
We all know what Lester's like. Lester liked to hit things.
Lester was a more physical guy. He'd try to beat you up on the line.
He really did go after people.
Lester Hayes had a year in 1980 that was arguably the greatest year a corner has ever had.
As a cover man and also as a tackler, he was just phenomenal.
He just took the game over. When it came to covering, no one did it better.
Hayes was the NFL's Defense Player of the Year, leading the league with 13 interceptions.
Down to the 20, the 10, into the end zone.
He added another 5 in the playoffs, helping Oakland to Super Bowl 15.
Super Sunday, what a day. I can't believe it. It's like a dream come true. It's unbelievable.
Hayes' early success came with scrutiny for artificially improving his hands.
Stick 'em, baby.
He had that stick 'em everywhere on his body.
All of his feet, all of his hands, and all of his arm, his jersey, everywhere.
We always used to tell Lester, don't touch us. We don't want you to touch us. That's how he got all those interceptions.
Way up the field toward Hill. Intercepted.
He caught half of them just by the stick 'em catching that ball before his hands ever did. Unfortunately, as the story goes, we had to stick 'em outlaws several years later. That's because Lester abused the system.
Like all #1 picks, Haynes blitzed into the NFL with salvos of publicity, which hyped him into instant superstardom.
Hall of Famer Mike Haynes spent his first 7 seasons with the Patriots, making 6 Pro Bowls.
If you're looking for an ideal corner, would be Mike Haynes. Mike had everything you want to look for.
43-inch vertical.
6'2.5", 6'3", weighing about 200 pounds.
Had long arms.
Fires it long and deep left side. Could be picked off. It is.
Tremendous speed, faster than Blunt.
He's down the sideline. Look at the speed of that man. Touchdown.
I studied a lot.
Number 40 succeeded because his helmet was firmly rooted to his head.
It's really scientific. If I can slow the guy down like 1/10 of a second, I'm really doing a great job.
Our #1 cornerback tandem was created as a result of a contract dispute. Haynes played out his option with the Patriots in 1982. The following November, his contract was awarded to the Raiders for 2 draft picks.
Was the greatest steal of all time.
When the Raiders got Mike Haynes, they said, oh my God.
From the start, an intimidating Raider defense dominated. With big plays by number 37, left corner Lester Hayes. And by number 22, right corner Mike Hayes.
What do you do if you're an offense?
Now you have 2 strong guys in there. Where do they throw the ball?
Intercepted Hayes, 18-yard line, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown Raiders!
Let them do whatever they want to do. Teams cannot throw the ball on us.
You can forget about anybody throwing on you.
Our number one cornerback tandem combined for 14 Pro Bowls and starred on the Raiders' run to a win in Super Bowl 18.
And the celebration will begin. The Los Angeles Raiders, Kings of the Hill in Super Bowl 18.
The best two I ever coached, no question about it. I can take a nap, go watch the game on TV.
Okay, Mike, good, yeah. That's it, good, that's it. All right.
Tremendous, tremendous.
Jump ball and intercepted.
It's hard to find tandems like that.
There's not two that I can think of who would be better.
Great pick.
The ability to make great picks played a major role in determining our list of top 10 cornerback tandems.
50-yard interception returned by Willie Brown.
Many a quarterback has felt the pain of falling victim to the best corners in the game. The hallmark of great quarterback play is blanket coverage, and we have now provided blanket coverage for each of the top 10 cornerback tandems of all time.